This exercise is going to show you how to utilize your ceiling grids in PractiCAD. This exercise picks up from the exercise on placing down walls. If you are starting this exercise fresh, you're going to want to draw a 10-foot wall or a quick 10-foot room in the bottom left corner of your template. If you are picking up from the exercise on walls, right now you should be at the section where you've just got the walls we've traced. And what we're going to do is unisolate the drawing to bring back all of the details on the template. To do that, we're going to go into the Home key, and we're going to go into the button that says Layer Unisolate. When you click on that, it's going to bring back everything on our template. You can start this exercise fresh. Just draw a wall or a room that's 10 by 10, 10 foot by 10 foot, and then you can pick up in this section. The first thing we must make sure to do this is that we have the custom ceiling grid in our architectural bin. You can see here I already have it. If you do not have it, you must go into your PractiCAD ribbon. Got to go into the library icon. We're going to click on it. And on the left-hand side in the architectural section, we're going to go down to where it says ceiling grid. So we want to click on the plus key over here to open up architecturals, and then the plus key next to the ceiling grid. And then we can see the three types we have. This exercise is only going to go over the custom. The custom is the only one that I normally use because it's the most flexible. Custom ceiling grid, like custom walls, can mimic the rectangular and arc ceiling. So generally we only need one. We're going to click on the custom ceiling, and that's going to highlight it in blue. And when that happens, you're going to notice that the architectural bin is going to be open. And that's going to allow us, if we don't have this icon there, we're going to hold down with our left mouse and we can drag it and put it right here. Since I've already got it on my desktop, I'm only replacing it with the one that's already there. You can only have one entity at a time in a specific bin. I cannot have two custom ceiling grids. So once you've got it in your bin, you can exit out of the library. So we want to start off this exercise with the custom ceiling grid ready to go. The first step we're going to do is go into the architectural bin, and we're going to click on the custom ceiling, and we're going to go over to the item box. And you want to set your tile length and width to 24 by 24 so that it's a 2 foot by 2 foot. And the remainder of these parameters we can adjust at the end of this exercise. But what we're going to do is go into the elevation box and put in elevation 10 foot. This elevation is basically the top of the walls we drew. We drew 10 foot high walls. We want to get the ceiling grid's elevation close to where those walls are. The reason why is those walls have nodes or object snaps on the top of them and the bottom of them. So we want to make sure that the ceiling grid is snapping to the right elevation. There's actually exercises and tutorials working with the nodes for columns, and it explains why you sometimes have nodes that are stacked. A general rule is always keep the elevation when you're going to snap to something a little bit higher. If we want this grid to snap to the top of the wall, just make sure our current elevation is higher than the wall's height. So we've got it set at 10 foot. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click on the drawing to get our drawing space back, and we now need to click once. You can see in the command line it says specify entity displacement. Now I currently have my object snaps on. You'll notice that object snaps on. I'm also going to turn polar tracking on. It's not necessary, but it helps. And what we're going to do here is we're going to click once to start the ceiling grid. Then we're going to click twice. And until you do 2 clicks, you're not going to see PractiCAD generating the ceiling grid. Once you've got 2 clicks, you're going to see it drawing. Then we're going to click on the 3rd corner point. And then we're going to come over to the 4th corner point. And here we're going to click once. Now, once we do that, you should notice that you still have control of the grid, and it's waiting for another point. If we don't need to draw any more points, and we know that we just want PractiCAD to complete this grid, we can hit enter here. And PractiCAD is going to draw a straight line from the last point we clicked on, which is here, to the first point we clicked on, which is here. Even if my cursor is all the way over here. Once I hit enter, it completes the grid. Now the command line says specify the offset or center. Notice that it's asking us, do we want to center the grid in this, or do we want to offset it? If we hit C spacebar for center, it's just going to center the grid. And it's going to make it so that all 4 corners are equal. However, in this exercise, what we're going to do is we're going to offset the grid. So what you want to do is pan down and come over to the lower left corner. And what we're going to do is we're going to specify an offset. And we're going to state that the offset's going to be 12 inches on the X from the last corner point we clicked on and 12 inches up on the Y. And to do that, we're going to type in the command line our X, Y, Z values. We got to use the @ symbol though. So what we're going to do is I'm going to type in Shift @ and I'm going to type in 12 on the X, 12 on the Y, 0 on the Z. Please take note in the command line. I use the @ symbol, 12, 12, 0. And now we're just going to hit enter. When we do that, it should have the corner point. You can see it pivoting. It's exactly 12 and 12. And now it's going to ask you for the rotation. And here we just want to keep it rotated at 0. So I'm going to either hold the polar or you could type in 0, enter. And before you do it, take a look at the specify rotation in the command line. Always watch the command line when you're doing stuff for the first time. This way you can see. Practicad's always telling you what section or what command's coming up. So what we're going to do is hit enter, and now we've got the grill placed. So that's placing down a ceiling grid. Let's go over now, once you've done that one successfully, let's scroll up to the other part of the Practicad exercise template. Here we've got a grill, which is 24 by 24, but it's not a perfect square. And it's also rotated a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're just going to draw another grid. So what we're going to do is go into the architectural bin and grab the custom ceiling again. We're going to click once. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start from this corner point here, and we're going to click once. And then what we're going to do is going to go to this corner and click a second time. And then we're just going to go to the third. And you're going to trace the outline of the entire grid at each corner point. And once we get to the last corner point right here, I'm going to click, and notice once again, I want it to complete the grid. So I'm going to hit enter. Now, it's now asking me, as we move our mouse in a circle, it's asking us for the offset. And what we're going to do is zoom in to this corner point here, and we're going to highlight that spot. And to do that, I'm going to shift right click, and I'm going to grab the apparent intersection snap. And that's going to make it real easy. You see the intersection? I'm going to click on that point right there and click once. Now when I do that, we know that the offset for our tiles is going to be correct. And it should be saved at 24 and 24. Take note that I've got the tiles at 24 and 24. If you had not saved it as a default, you might not have the tile sizes correct. So make sure that you do have it as 24 and 24. Once we've done that, I can specify the rotation angle by simply holding at another point on this ceiling grid background, at the perpendicular. See, we're just going to hold it right here, and then we just click one more time. And when we do that, we've successfully laid a Practicad ceiling grid directly over the 2D template. What we can do now is we could click on our ceiling grid, and we could come over to that elevation box, and we can give it a 10-foot elevation if we'd like. Okay, and once we've done that, we now have a ceiling grid we could snap our GRDs to. And you'll know if you did it correctly because we can put it in isometric view, and you'll be able to see that you should have your wall or your ceiling grid here, and over here you should have the ceiling grid as well. And one other portion we could show real quick in this exercise would be just placing a grill on the ceiling grid. And to do that, we're just going to zoom back in to the bottom left corner of this drawing right here. And we're going to go up to the architecturals and just select any grill. I'm going to grab grill supply, and I'm going to click. And I'm going to come over to the item box and notice that the grill tab is checked. And what we want to do right here is make sure we're holding this grill by the Z bottom. Hold it by the Z bottom. And we don't need to worry about elevations anymore, because if we're using our ceiling grid, the node is going to snap this grill right to the grid. And there's separate tutorials on that. And what we're going to do here is just click on the drawing And if you've got that node object snap checked, you're going to zoom in, and all you need to do is bring your crosshairs just above one of the midpoints of the tile you want to attach to. Notice as you move your cursor around in a circle, see if you move it on the line, it's going to jump. If you move it just a little off the line, it's going to highlight here. You don't want to grab the corner node, as you can see. You want to make sure you're at one of the midpoints. And once you see that node, you're going to click. And that's going to put the grill right at the proper elevation because you're using one of our grids. That's going to conclude the tutorial or the exercise on the ceiling grids, working with the walls and working with the grills on top of grids.